I'm someone who's self-employed. I work 12 to 14 hours a day. I'm about to launch an expansion onto my business with group coaching and training towards a marathon, which entails 3 gym sessions, 2 swims, and 3 runs in its own right. Life can be hectic. Now, in order to facilitate everything, I have to be a little bit militant at times. But what could I do that could make my life a little bit easier? Part of my job being posting on social media, I can't escape from one thing every single time I pop onto these apps.
I challenged my friend to get
AJ Tracy.
4 years ago, my chance
When I tell people
Let's
I run a meal
The ads have clearly worked on me. Let's save a couple of hours through not having to cook, and let's see if buying my meal prep is actually worth it from Simmer Eats, or is it just some overpriced nonsense? Now, I looked at none of the reviews beforehand, and my first impressions, things looked really good to me. I got a nice cheeky discount, because of course I did, we all get them. And there was a plethora of different options which certainly pleased me.
Now, I've got to admit, looking at the menu itself, it looks really quite decent, I'm not gonna lie. There's some really nice things. We've got a jerk chicken with rice, peas, baked plantain, a bit of cabbage within it. Sounds great. There's some really nice stuff on this menu which I don't typically expect, especially when it comes to a meal prep service. I usually just kind of think bland and boring. Processing orders, and there we go. We have got our first order.
After I placed my first order, there was a couple of concerns that continually popped up in the reviews that certainly caught my attention. First off, people didn't actually seem like they got their meals, and if they didn't get their meals, they didn't get a refund. And if they do get their meals, they often are like mush. So instantly buyer's remorse set in. I started to think, have I just spent my money to eat like my nan? But before I knew it, the day had arrived and it was at my door.
The time has come. As you can see, I've lost all my hair since the last time we filmed.
As I started getting them out one by one, my orders were there. Things were looking promising. Until
Spanish chicken and chickpea stew. Don't think I ordered that. If I did, I fucked up because I don't like chickpeas. Did I really order Spanish and chickpea stew? Surely not. Surely I've not done that.
Now, I can't find the original text that talked about what was included. I have the title of the thing I ordered, and there was nothing about chickpeas within it. Fast forward to the future, and considering this wasn't part of the fucking title to begin with, about 3/4 of this meal was chickpeas. This was by far the worst fucking meal. I was not happy. Did I get all the meals I ordered? Technically, yes, but I'm still not happy either way. Going on to myth number 2, did it taste like mush? I started with a chicken Milanese, and this wasn't giving me high hopes. A couple of B-Tech Mackey's chicken selects, a tiny portion of veg and sauce with a ton of pasta.
I don't hate it.
But my thoughts on the initial bit of flavour, yeah, my standards wasn't too high after day one. Especially when it comes to that breaded chicken throughout all the meals I had. It was some horrid, mushy texture. There was no crunch that came with it. It was just soggy and wet.
The breaded chicken doesn't do it for me. The breading on it is very mushy. It just falls off. It's not needed. It doesn't add anything. In fact, it takes away from the dish. Things like the chicken do just go mushy. They're very soggy.
There was just no differentiating points to these meals in terms of texture. It was just all the same gloopy mush. And going back to my initial impressions as well, it's also probably key to note here that all of the food I ordered was the large versions. And I will say, I'm not actually sure I received the large versions of the food. See, here's the thing, I tend to do a little bit more expenditure than the average person, plus I do 12,000 steps every day on top. Take into account, I was a fat kid growing up, and I'm pretty much a prime candidate in order to eat a lot of food, just due to the amount of food that was presented to me, and there was one thing in particular that really stood out. Not just my disdain for the sizes as the days continued, but this was one of the key things that I realistically began to question within every single meal I ate.
I'm not too sure how this is 53 grams of protein or whatever it is.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bits of chicken. How much protein supposed to? 57 grams of protein. 5 bits of chicken, a couple of bits of edamame. I just don't see 60 grams being in this. I really, really don't. A couple of kidney beans ain't gonna justify that amount of meat.
Compared to my usual meals, I was eating about half the volume for the same amount of calories and protein. The biggest omission of this being vegetables. Not only for the flavour and the nutrients they provide, but they help keep me full. The ratio was just off. Like 1 baby tomato for a pasta dish? Come on, man. A little sprinkled cabbage on the side of jerk chicken? It was just frustrating me how small it was. After I ate one of these meals, I was still hungry. Combine the lack of size with the lack of texture, and I was always craving more food afterwards. It's not all doom or gloom at the end of the day. Whilst I wasn't a fan of the texture, and the size of the meals certainly left a lot to be desired, I feel like I've heard that before. The flavour of these meals was consistently good, especially the meat. But meat in around my mouth, I'm not gonna complain. That's where a lot of the flavour tended to stop, as sauces and things of this nature were minimal at best. If you're gonna go for these meals, then be prepared to eat a lot of plain rice. Unless we're talking about the chicken satay. This was the one meal I wish I ordered 10 times, as it was bursting with flavour from start to finish.
Oh, that chicken satay's good.
To round up, despite it having the consistency of the food from your nan's nursing home, it did taste good. Thing is, it is super convenient. It's a healthier option than your typical ready meal. But would I recommend it? £62 for 10 meals to begin with? I don't think that's bad. But that's with a 30% discount on your first order. For £90 consistently, I think realistically the best thing you can do is take advantage of these discount codes. Buy an order or two and pop them into your freezer for a couple of months. That way when you don't fancy cooking and instead of resorting to a takeaway, rather than having a takeaway through choice, you can actually make a behaviour that's a little bit more goal aligned. But would I give it another shot? Not from Simmer Eats. For the price, I just don't think it's worth it. The meals did not fill me up. I don't think the macros are that accurate. I miss eating vegetables. I miss having to use a knife to eat food and not have every single part of the meal have the same consistency. I really miss texture in my meals and it made life stupidly hard for me. Realistically, if I'm gonna be nice, I'm gonna score it a 3 out of 10.